Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. I'm going to open call to order the Town of Morristown Board of Liquor and Tobacco Control. It is 5:30, Monday, May 5th, 2025. Do we have any agenda changes or additions? Okay, we have minutes to approve from April 21st, 2025.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of April 21, 2025.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion by Chris and a second by Richard. And I would just say that there was just one change in case somebody does come back and look at minutes. The first motion was passed 4-0, the second was passed 4-0, and the third was passed 5-0. And if I remember correctly, that was the evening that Laura showed up late. Just missed the first two motions. So there's two of them that say 4-0 and one of them says 5-0. So if we could just, in case someone's watching.
It does say a special event permits manufacturer, and it does say Laura Streets arrived at the beginning of this discussion.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay.
Which indicated 5-0.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. So it's there. Any other discussion regarding the minutes? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Liquor license applications, we have 3 of them. I'm assuming Jason's good with all of these?
Yes.
Okay, so the chief of police is good with all this. So I have 3 liquor license renewals: Bombastic Industries, CO Grocers, and Martin's Food in South Burlington.
So I'll make the motion to approve the following liquor license renewals. Bombastic Industries LLC for third class and outside consumption. Co-Grocers LLC doing business with Green Mountain Market, number 105, for a second class. And Martin's Food of South Burlington LLC doing business as Hannaford Supermarket and Pharmacy for a second class.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion by Chris and a second by Richard. Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Tobacco license applications, we have 1 license renewal for CO Grocers.
So I would move to approve the tobacco license renewal for Co-Grocers LLC, doing business with Green Mountain Market, number 105, for tobacco only.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion by Chris, second by Richard. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous, Judy. And I have 2 requests to cater permits. I have 2 requests for catering permits, both from Black Diamond.
So I would move to approve the request to cater permits from Black Diamond Barbecue LLC. The first for August 2nd, 2025, from 3 to 10 p.m. for a Martin wedding. Estimated number of people is 175, and that's at 2683 Mud City Loop. And the second is September 4, 2025, from 5:30 to 8:30. DBI company event, that's Donnie Blake Industries company event, 59 Creamery Road, for approximately 100 people.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Chris and a second by Richard. Do I have any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion by Chris, a second by Richard. It's 5:36. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
So we have closed the Board of Liquor and Tobacco Control. Whenever you're ready, Judy.
Well, assuming that my first one didn't go well, so
I wasn't sure which Martin family it was, but I do know now.
One second.
Yeah, no problem. All set? Okay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the Select Board meeting to order for Monday, May 5th, 2025. It is 5:37. Agenda changes or additions? I think we have a change.
We have an addition and a change. The addition is to announce a job announcement, an applicant been offered and accepted, and the change is to move the LCCD Silver Ridge Stormwater Project Letter of Support request from 6th on the agenda to number 2 after the consideration of appointing Kevin Petrochko as Town of Morristown Lister.
Okay, and do we want to do the announcement before Kevin Petrocco?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. So we're going to move number 6 to number 2, and then before number 1, we'll have that announcement. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Brent. Community comments. So this is our first regular Select Board meeting since we moved community comments from the end of the meeting back to the beginning of the meeting. And I'm just going to quickly, I'm not going to read through the entire procedure, but I'm just going to remind people that we did do this at our last regular Select Board meeting. And so in the future, from now on, community comments will occur at the beginning of the meeting, immediately following agenda changes and additions. Comments during this period will be limited to topics not on the agenda. In the past, that was easy to do because we had covered the agenda before community comments happened. So just want to remind people to try to not use community comments for items that are going to come up later, because the public will get a chance to comment on them as they come up. Speakers, of course, should address the chair. Speakers will be allotted 2 minutes to speak one time, and we're going to allot 15 minutes for community comments. But I'll just say now, the plan is, I mean, if there's a lot of community comments, I will adjust the length of that to allow people to talk. So, given all that, is there anybody that would like to comment for community comments? Go ahead, Jamie.
James Brewster. So I just want to share a couple of things that have been on my mind recently. Over the last little while, we've had a lot of great strides in Morristown, be it the town manager form of government, town charter, the town plan update leading to the approval by LCPC, which could lead to downtown designation, the move from planning council to planning commission. What I believe, and hopefully someday we'll get the final results, is the money in road salt savings, as well as the discussion this evening on money that we could be getting from the roads and bridges. I think those are all wonderful strides. But there's still work to be done, which leads me to bring up my thoughts on the joint meeting between the Select Board and the trustees. I have to say that I found that to be a disappointment. I found that it lacks substance or any topic of consequence. As you all know, because I've written you all, and I got responses back from 4 of you regarding what legislative body should be responsible for bylaws, zoning, planning. This is something that's in state statute, as well as something that is in our town plan, as something that we're going to look into. Zoning administrator costs that are paid by the trustees to the town. That's a $6,000 fee. Nobody really knows if that's a good fee or a bad fee, and that's a fee that hasn't been touched in, I don't know, 5-6 years. You're telling me that wages There's no reason to, I mean, that needs to be looked at. These are the types of things that I had been led to believe were going to be discussed or at least touched on in that joint trustee select board meeting. And it was just really a wishy-washy, glossed over, nothing burger, in my opinion. So maybe these items that I'm discussing or bringing up are in the agenda or are in the pipeline somewhere to be worked on. If they are, wonderful. If they're not, they need to be. Because the way our planning and zoning is set up for the approval of all of this stuff is laborious, it's repetitive, and I'm not even sure that it's necessary based on state statute. And I think that we really need to look at that. And I know that that's an uncomfortable conversation to have with the trustees. But if state statute says that they don't necessarily need to be involved in it, and this is the board that needs to be responsible for those decisions, then that discussion needs to be had. And it's going to save a lot of people a lot of time. They may have some heartache, but they'll get over it.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yep.
Jerry Throne. I know we're coming up to the time of the year when we take bids and try to get paving done. And, our plan is to get that done over the next several years and then to get things up to speed and then just maintenance. But something that's been bothering me since, for several years now is the speeding problem, especially on some of the side streets. And I think that it would behoove us to take a look at, before the paving is done, some of the traffic calming measures that could be instituted as part of the paving plan. Some of those things involve narrowing down the width of the roadway in certain areas, putting in things such as speed tables. I'm not in favor of speed bumps, but speed tables is something that I think would work well. At any rate, I would hope that the town would consider doing what it can at that time to control speed.
Thanks, Jerry. Any other comments? I don't see any hands online. Okay, I'm going to move on then. Okay, thank you. Number 4, approve the minutes. We have minutes from the Select Board Trustees meeting from April 16th, 2025.
So I would make the motion to approve the joint meeting between the village trustees and the select board on April 16th, 2025.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion by Chris and a second by Richard to approve the minutes of April 16th. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes for April 16th, 2025, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous. We have minutes from April 21st as well.
I would move to approve the select board meeting minutes of April 21, 2025.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Chris and a second by Richard. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes from April 21st, 2025, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous, Judy. Okay, moving on to new business. We have an announcement. Brent, I'm going to let you make the announcement.
So it was already announced by the DRB last week, but there was a committee put together for the review of various applicants for zoning and planning. And that consisted of 2 village trustees, 2 select board members, DRB chair, planning commission chair, and HR director, Alice Townsend, and myself. Everybody participated in the process. I want to personally thank George for putting together sort of like an organizational ad hoc committee structure to keep the process flowing. We wanted as much community involvement, board involvement, village trustee involvement as possible. Sometimes that complicates things a little bit, but very efficient flow in my opinion. And so part of that is because of George's efforts. We had 2 rounds of interviews. First round were candidates that everybody on the interview committee had ranked. And then the second round were 2 top candidates. And Tyler Masha, Morristown resident, has been selected. He is the current zoning administrator for the town of Richmond. And he will be starting mid-May. So wanted to make that announcement, and again, thank everybody that was involved in the process.
Yeah. Thank you, and I'll just add, I think it was the opinion of the committee that Tyler was a strong candidate, and we felt very good about that. Okay, moving on. Number 2, what was number 1 before? Appoint Kevin Petrocco, I'm sorry, as Town of Morristown Lister. It's my understanding that the listers, Brian Yeaton and Grant Weiler, both requested of administration to please get some help with the work that the listers have to do. And so Kevin's name came up to the top. It's worth noting before we move on with this that Kevin's helped us out with a number of things, and I, for one, certainly appreciate that. So I would entertain a motion.
I would move to appoint Kevin Petrocco as Town of Morristown Lister. Is there a term, or is it a life sentence?
Until the next local election, I believe.
Okay, until the next local election.
Okay, so I have a motion. Do I have a second? So I have a motion by Chris and a second by George. Discussion.
I'm just curious, this is in addition to your current position? Yes. Yeah, just for clarity, because you said he hops out, it made it sound like, just so everybody's aware, he is currently an employee. Currently part-time? No, full-time?
No, full-time
Okay.
assistant assessor right now, training Terry.
Okay, thank you.
Assistant assessor has been helping with zoning and wearing a lot of hats. So we definitely appreciate all that Kevin has been doing, and now he's stepped up for another hat as well. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Number 2 is the Lemoyle County Conservation District Silver Ridge Stormwater Project letter of support request. I know Jim Pease is in the audience and Peter Danforth are in the audience, so I'm going to ask them to come forward. And just if you guys can come up and let us know. We have a packet here, and the packet does describe this project, but for the sake of the public, those on Zoom, and for the record, if you guys could just talk about this project for us.
Yeah, we're looking to solve a sort of perpetual stormwater problem up on Silver Ridge Road. It's a little confusing because I think the E911 in that area isn't quite right, but it's like 152, 148, and 89 Silver Ridge Road. Years ago, back in the 80s, Sunset Terrace was developed, Sunset Terrace development was developed, and at the time, the water, there is a stream there, there's a pond on Center Road that would drain down and then just sort of dissipate in the fields behind the Shawmont. And after they built Sunset Terrace, largely because of Sunset Terrace, there was an increase in runoff onto the back of several of these properties I just mentioned on Silver Ridge Road. And at the time, the select board gave money to the homeowners to fix the problem. And that has worked for 20, 30 years. But now there's been further development up there, Red Pine Estates and a little bit of the old Trombley Hill Industrial Park. And there's, depending on the year, This year, there was not a problem, according to Jordan, right? But I think every so often, there is an icing problem. There's certainly an icing problem at 156 Silver Ridge Road, and occasionally there are problems at Silver Ridge Road. So what we proposed, we were working with the landowner there, Kenrick Hedberg, who lives at 152, if you can believe that number, Silver Ridge Road. No, well, it's an even number and it's not right.
Okay.
And it's right on the border of Hyde Park, so it might be Hyde Park's fault, but, we're working with the landowner to install a bioretention system on his property, which would intercept this 6-inch pipe that you guys paid for 30, 40 years ago, and soak the water into the ground, rather than, and so that any excess water that isn't soaked in the ground would continue down the 6-inch pipe, which then daylights just on the west side of Silver Ridge Road. Or no, there's a culvert, sorry, daylights on the east side, but then goes through a culvert on Silver Ridge Road. And this is just upstream from where the AOT just did their big culvert replacement job. So all we're looking for, we're going to be applying to the Clean Water Service Provider funds of Vermont DEC, and we would like to use some matching funds from the Jersey Heights Jersey Heights wastewater pump station project. And the town, we went to the village meeting and informed them of this request, and they said we needed a letter of support from the town. This project won't engage either the village or the town in any long-term maintenance or even ownership of this, because it is on private land. But we do need your sort of letter of support to then submit with our application with the village for basically it's a grant with no cost to the village or the town, based on the money they're borrowing for the Jersey Heights substation. It's called the Whisper Grant Fund. So that's what we're just here for, is to ask for a letter of support.
So just for clarity, the landowner is obviously in agreement with this at this point.
Yes, I am. I'm right here.
Oh, thank you very much. You answered what this means for Morristown right now. What about future maintenance? Who's going to be responsible for maintenance in the
Right.
future?
So under the current program that the DEC is running, the Lamoille County NRCD is eligible to apply for maintenance funds to pay for any projects that they are involved with. And certainly also going back in time, I believe, but certainly going into the future. So they can incorporate that request, whatever maintenance. The desire is to make this as minimally maintainable or necessary for maintenance as possible. But to the degree that there needs to be someone to check on it and maybe replace plants, we would, the district would apply for a grant along with the other projects they're doing in Lamoille County and incorporate that into the annual request to the Clean Water Service Provider.
Yeah. So, the Clean Water Service Provider grant deadline for this round is Thursday. So we're going to apply for a final design, I believe, right? For this project, they usually have to stagger it into preliminary, final, and then, implementation. It shouldn't take long to get to final design, at least this year, and then probably install by the next year. And again, what Jim was saying is that once it is done and implemented, then we apply again for maintenance funds. And, so it's just a process like that. And again, the town and village aren't really responsible for anything other than the need for the letter of support. So the funds going to build this will be a combination of the Clean Water Service Provider funds and the revolving fund that you were mentioning earlier. Yeah, Whisper. It's pretty straightforward. It's a rain garden, a very big one, and with not an under drain, but with materials that will help absorb and keep that polluted water from going into the Lake Champlain Basin. Most of this is, at least on the east side of Vermont, is to do with the Lake Champlain where the flooding is coming from.
So this will be
It's
similar
a
to,
higher end sort of view of it.
this will be similar to the rain gardens we see off of the bypass.
Yes.
There's one at the corner, yeah, okay, great. My final comment is, I didn't see the letter of support here. Are you going to draft a letter of support so we know what it is that you
Sure.
want support for?
Yeah.
And then you could bring that back at the next meeting?
We have to submit
Well-
by Thursday.
That's what I was wondering about
Right.
Thursday.
So I can just send it to you. Can I send it to you tomorrow?
Well, the board,
We have
you're
to
looking for the
sign.
board to support
Yeah.
a letter.
Or I could draft it up real quick.
Well, I mean, I think we needed the town, my understanding from the village was we needed just town support for the project. So, I mean,
So you think
I
Brent
don't
could
know who has
represent?
jurisdiction over the trustees, but
If we took an action, would that suffice, or do you need the action?
yeah, if
and
it's
then
in the
letter?
minutes, I think we can just copy the minutes and include them in
Cleaner.
So the
the,
the minutes don't get approved until the next board meeting.
Okay, that's true.
So, but I do have a couple questions.
Yeah, go ahead,
The, in your project history, you talk about that 6-inch drainage line, that it's considered undersized and inadequate to properly drain the area during the winter and spring runoff events. Based on your design, and the upgrade that you're talking about, it takes that 6-inch inadequate size drain and makes it adequate because you're expanding it down the road, so to speak.
right, I mean, we have to get an engineer to do the design, I'm not an engineer, but just using some basic calculations, that's what we would need to treat the runoff. The problem there is that there's, I mean, maybe Ken Ray can explain what the problem is, but it doesn't do this very often, I think.
Every
But
time
when-
it rains and any time there's snow melts, it floods my front yard.
So the upgrade, I guess my question is the upgrade that you're proposing, including using this 6-inch line, will solve his problem?
Yes.
Okay. So, I guess the other question I have is, did the town install that 6-inch line, or was that paid for and somebody else installed it?
Yeah.
The latter, yeah, the town pays for the materials, the homeowners install the line.
Okay, so I think that, whatever motion we make, or, moving forward, I think it would be prudent to have some sort of indemnification of the municipality, both in the reconstruction as well as the long-term maintenance of this, just so that boards down the road are not presented with, well, we thought we were gonna get grant money, but we didn't get grant money, we've got an issue, it's flooding, it's doing whatever it's doing, and it wasn't planned for, it somehow becomes an issue for the town to solve.
Do you want that in the letter as well?
I think that it needs to be in writing someplace, and the letter might be the appropriate place to do that.
Okay, so can you just say that again, and then I'll give everyone else a chance to comment?
So it would just indemnify the municipality from any construction of this project in long-term maintenance.
There is also an option where, so this is a fund that we can apply for at least 4 or 5 times a year. So it may again in July or so be available, deadline, final design. If we could get the final design done this year, it would still be in the same time frame in the sense of getting the implementation done by next year. So there's if you're having issues with the letter of support needing to be done for the next meeting with what you just said then, I don't know how to proceed, but I'm just giving you the option that we can probably apply again.
Well, one way we could proceed is by motion tonight, giving spelling out what needs to be in the letter.
Right.
Make sure that's in the minutes.
Okay.
And then, if you so choose, give me permission or give Brent permission to sign it.
I would come from Brent.
Okay.
Did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah. One, I thought there was a deadline, no, I'm addressing this to you. I thought there was a deadline for Morrisville Water and Light to participate in the whisper, so that's why it needed to be by tonight. Two, if we could get the resident whose private property it is to come up, provide their name on the record so that we can do proper minutes, and to also put on the record that they are in agreement with this process, that would be great.
And I have a quick question. These the whisper loan you're talking about, is this state loans or federal loans?
They're,
I can answer that.
It's kind of complicated, but they are state loans, but well, they may be federal loans, but I think they're secure. The SRF.
It's through Vermont
I know you
Meeting.
don't believe that.
Sorry, I had
but
to say, yeah.
We've asked that question from
Yeah.
the people that are managing the money. And I think much like the Jersey Heights project, wastewater is secure. Those are revolving loan funds. So
I will say, Governor Scott just said today that they're probably gonna reevaluate the budget come September
Yep, I saw
because
that.
we have no idea what's
Right,
happening.
right, I saw
So
that.
nothing
Right.
seems to be. Brent, did you want to speak to the whisper loans, you know?
Specific to whisper, it's through the Vermont Muni Bond Bank, is my
Oh, okay.
understanding.
Other
Thank you,
discussion?
sorry.
from the
I don't-
board?
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's a good
Pessimist,
question, and one we're dealing with
crazy.
every day.
And I just don't want the homeowners to get stuck. You
I'm
gotta,
already stuck.
you're already stuck, I
So-
know, but think it's gonna be done.
Even in lieu of something happening to those funds, the price tag on this project could be able to be funded via the single grant organization of the
Okay,
Clean
Yeah,
Water
we don't
Service
have to,
Provider.
right.
We're doing it just to make it easier on them as far as a
Sure.
financial
Okay,
load. But considering the amount of phosphorus being mitigated, which is something around 4 to 5 kilograms per year, which is a pretty high number for about a $50,000 project, maybe at the top, we don't know yet. But I think that we would probably, all right, we wouldn't be caught with our hands down, so to speak.
with no options, yeah.
Yeah.
Options are
And I
good.
think another thing in terms of maintenance is just upstream of this, in the Sunset Terrace development, there are 2 ponds that are privately owned, and those ponds are really where the sediment is settling out, and those ponds are being maintained by that landowner. They were just cleaned out this year or last year. So that's just
Thank you,
another
yeah.
benefit to the lower maintenance costs.
Richard, comments?
No, no comments.
George?
I was taught with both what Chris said regarding indemnification, and I certainly agree with Brent that I know the landowner is here, if we can just do that on the record, that would solve a lot of problems, and I have no other questions, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah. So Kenrick, would you like to come up and just identify yourself and just state your approval for what we are talking about?
My name is Kent Eric Hedberg. I'm landowner at 152 Silver Ridge Road. I approve the project of putting in a rain garden in the backfield of my residence of where I own the land. It's a lot better than my solution, so.
Thank you very much for doing that.
Thanks.
So, how do we want to proceed here? It sounds like we needed to indemnify Morristown from any construction and long-term maintenance for sure. Anything else we want in this statement that we're going to approve?
I think Chris nailed it.
Okay, so, and that will work for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So-
And Brent?
And you think it needs to be signed today?
No, I thought you all discussed that you could just pass a motion for me to communicate
Okay.
with Morrisville Water and Light, that
Okay.
you pass this motion and
Yeah, I don't think, Brent, that we're applying for this clean water service provider money. I believe that Morrisville Water and Light, if we do apply for WISP money, has to be when they are ready to go to construction. I think they're still at design phase, and when they have a some kind of construction agreement in place, then we can take advantage of that money. So that may be, I don't know, 6 months off.
Okay.
So at that point, yeah, we need a letter, like, for the landowner, we need a letter of commitment and a letter of, like, it's all right for me to walk on your land to look at to identify, the issues. So we'll have to do that pre-implementation, but right now we're good with just, we don't even need a letter of support to move forward with grants, from our perspective. So it's great that you're providing one and it adds that extra elements to it. And,
I would think if, when Water and Light does go physically to the municipal bond bank and finishes everything off, if municipal bond bank needs a letter with us, assuming we pass this motion, then Brent could document whatever they need as long as it's within the confines of what we act on tonight. I don't know that we have to revisit this. Brent can just do it if needed.
Okay, do I have a motion then?
Sure. I would make a motion to support the Silver Ridge Road Stormwater Project on Silver Ridge Road in Morristown, Vermont, as proposed by the Illinois Natural Resources Conservation District, with a proviso that there is no construction costs or, what's the word I'm looking for?
Long-term maintenance?
Well, yeah, that too, but
Financial obligation. for the
any
town.
kind of
Liability.
financial obligation, liability, or long-term maintenance to the town of Morristown.
Second.
Judy, you have that?
Uh-huh.
You want to just, maybe just when you get a chance, reread what you have for the motion?
Oh, my computer catches it.
Okay, great,
I'm just
okay.
writing out.
Okay, I know,
Yeah.
okay.
You want me to read
But
what I
you're-
just wrote?
Yeah,
If I
by
can
all
read my
means.
chicken scratch?
Yeah.
Chris has made a motion to support the Silver Ridge Stormwater Project in Morristown, Vermont, as proposed by LCCD, provided there are no construction costs, maintenance costs, or liabilities to the town of Morristown.
Okay. Does that sound about right?
Yes.
So I have a motion. Did I get a second? I can't remember.
Yes.
I did, okay. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
It would be unanimous.
Happy birthday.
Okay, moving on to, see you later. Number 3, Professional Municipal Clerk Week. So it is, I have a few things to read here. And it is this week, May 4th through May 10th. It is Professional Municipal Clerks Week. Municipal clerks are the backbone of local government operations, as we all know, often working behind the scenes to oversee key functions like record keeping, election management, legislative documentation, and maintaining public trust through transparency and accountability. Their dedication is vital to the effective functioning of our municipalities. The annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week was initiated in 1969 by IIMC and is endorsed by all of its members throughout the United States, Australia, Belgium, Bermuda, Bulgaria, Canada, England, Italy, the Netherlands, New Zealand, South Africa, and Wales. In 1984 and 1994, Presidents Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton respectively signed a proclamation officially declaring Professional Municipal Clerks Week the first full week of May, and recognizing the essential role municipal clerks play in local government. This annual observance offers a special opportunity to recognize and honor the critical role municipal clerks play in our communities. They are essential in ensuring transparency, efficiency, and the smooth operation of local government. So I have a proclamation here. 56th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week, May 4th through May 10th, 2025. Whereas the office of the Professional Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants, and Whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. And whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. Now, therefore, we, the Morristown Selectboard, do recognize the week of May 4th through May 10th, 2025 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerks, Sarah Haskins, Mitzi Fleming, Elizabeth Chase, and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Dated this 5th day of May, 2025. I would entertain a motion.
I would move to adopt a proclamation of the 56th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week of May 4th through May 10th, 2025, and authorize the Morristown Select Board Chair to attest.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Chris and a second by Richard. I do want to say it's always been a very professional place to go in that office, and just a wonderful environment in there. Thank you, Sarah.
We have a great team.
Yes, you do. Any further discussion?
I would just say that
Microphone. Sorry.
It's always a pleasure going in there, and I appreciate that staff is always doing whatever they need to do to get certified above and beyond. It seems like they're, I think you can just go along with the flow, but they always seem to attend the extra classes or seminars and know what's going on.
That was Tom Stames, for the record. Sarah, anything you'd like to add?
Not really, just thank you for recognizing the work that we do in the office.
Okay, thank you.
I will just say, I have never, in all of my time here, ever heard a single complaint about your office, and I thank you for that.
Don't jinx us.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous, Judy. Thank you. Number 4, Vermont Town Road and Bridges Standard, Jordan St. Ange, and there is quite a bit of reading here in the packet. Hopefully everyone on the board's had a chance to read it. And Jordan is here to give us a presentation, so go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for your time. I'm here today to propose adopting the Vermont State Municipal Road and Bridge Standards. These standards are an incentive program, and they're made up of best management practices for repairing and maintaining our roads. The main benefit of adopting these standards is 10% more state funding on Class 2 roadways grants and the state structured grants, as well as an increase in state FEMA match by 5%. The state currently matches our FEMA total project at 7.5%. If we had these standards, they would match at 12.5%. So following these best management practices also improves the safety of our roads, and it reduces the life cycle costs by making them more flood resilient, and it protects our waterways. This year I've applied for and we've been recommended for approval on the Class 2 roadway grant. which would provide us with $168,000 for paving funds this year, as well as the state structures grant for bridge repair, which is for $200,000. If we had this standard in place, we'd be looking at a 10% town match for these two grants, but since we don't, we're needing a 20% town match. If the municipal road and bridge standards had been adopted or were adopted tonight, I'd notify the state right off tomorrow and see if it is possible to amend our application to include this process. And that would represent a $37,000 savings to the town on these two grants. I missed another point on the FEMA benefits. So we left $49,000 on the table by not receiving that extra 5% on the FEMA grants. So that's in the last 2 years. That's $50,000 we missed out on by not having these standards. In addition to that, if we had adopted these standards, when FEMA reimburses us, they would reimburse us for the cost to bring those damaged sections back to these standards. Since we don't have those standards, FEMA will only reimburse us to repair to the standard that the road was prior to the event. So that's another big improvement, and that, you know, it's hard to quantify that, but that's another huge thing here. So you're talking, you know, $50,000 that we missed out on, and free road upgrades as well. So on paper, the main disadvantage of adopting these standards is the cost of stone lining ditches. But our municipal roads general permit, which we are required to have by the state, already requires us to stone line ditches over 8%. So it's a standard that we're already supposed to be following. And regardless of that, stone lining ditches is worth every penny that we spend doing it. The stone prevents stormwater from washing out our roads. It prevents it from taking material and sediment and filling residents' driveways with that material that then causes driveway culvert failures, which are a resident's responsibility in this town. And also, very importantly, it protects the rivers and streams from that sediment being washed down into them. Another part about this is that our budget already has a line item for ditch stone in it. And on top of that, we get money from the state every year for stone lining hydrologically connected segments. So last year, or it'll be for use this summer, we got $32,500 from the state for stone lining ditches. And this year, we were told we'd be getting $25,000, but in talking with the state, they're expecting it to be closer to $35,000. So the way it works is we balance it, and we use that money on any section that's hydrologically connected, meaning it dumps into a river or a stream. And then we have other areas where, you know, there's a steep slope and our roads are at risk, and that's where we use the money in our budget. So we balance between the state and our funding and use it wisely in order to not have an impact on the budget by adopting these standards. And again, it's something that we're already doing because the municipal road general permit requires us to do it anyways. So there's an excerpt here from the town plan, the 2020 to 2030 town plan, and it talks about why we would not adopt these standards. So I like to go through this plan one piece at a time. It should be noted that the town's roadway system remains flood resilient despite its refusal to adopt the state's 2019 road and bridge standards. And I think that's a pretty bold statement. I think our 3 FEMA claims between 23 and 24 tell a bit of a different story. And then we also find ourselves constantly repairing small washouts after just rainstorms, melt, whatever it may be. You know, we constantly find ourselves repairing washouts. So it also says that the state's town and road bridge standards are better matched for Chittenden County, and they're not well equipped to deal with the reality of steep rural mountain roads that we have in our town. Yet 7 out of 10 communities in Lamoille County have adopted these standards. Belvedere, Cambridge, Johnson, Hyde Park, Elmore, Wolcott, and Stowe have all adopted these standards. I've spoken with Stowe and Hyde Park, and they have no complaints. They're happy with them. The only towns in Lamoille County that have not adopted these standards are Morristown, Eden, and Waterville. Another line here was fully adopting the state's town and road bridge standards would drive the town's highway budget to unsustainable levels and potentially put the ability of the town to harvest gravel from Duhamel Pit at risk. So in speaking with Stowe, they have not seen any change in their budget as a result of this. The reasons I just gave with the state funded money as well as what's already in our budget, I wouldn't expect to see a change as well. And in regards to the Duhamel Pit, The only connection is there was a previous version of this standard that had specified that processed gravel was to be used in all road construction. And that word processed has been removed from this version. And from my understanding in the past, there was a point in time where we used bank run gravel from the Duhamel pit, which was not processed. So back in the day, we potentially couldn't have used the material out of Duhamel pit without processing it. But now process has been removed, that word has been removed from the standard. And even if it hadn't, we process our gravel coming out of the pit now. So as such, this plan is opposed to the adoption of the state, town, road, and bridge standards, especially on the argument that is based on flood resiliency. And I'm arguing that adopting this standard would be based on fiscal responsibility. We're leaving money on the table for, I don't see a good reason why. So this was another common misconception, is that if we adopt this standard, then we need to bring all of our roads up to standard within a certain time period. And that would be very expensive, but that is not the case. The way it works is as we do repairs, we have to do that repair to the standard. So we don't have to go through and stone line every ditch over 8%, but if we dig out a ditch and clean it out, we need to replace it with the stone if it's over 8%. So the best management practices outlined in the municipal road and bridge standards are practices that we're already doing. Some areas we need refinement and we need to do a little bit better. We need to do more ditching. We need to make sure that we're using stone on these percentages. When we grade, we have to make sure that we're grading to a good percentage. We've implemented some slope meters and our graders to make sure that we can do that. We'll have to get better about the berms that we leave when we grade. The only other thing needed in order for this to work and for us to not miss out on this money is to have a network infrastructure study completed, which was already completed by LCPC. So adopting the standard is kind of the last piece of the puzzle. And again, since July of 2023, we've missed out on $86,000 by not having this standard.
Thank you, Jordan. Once again, it's a very good presentation and, at least in my mind, somewhat of a no-brainer. Just a couple of thoughts. You mentioned 7 out of the 10 towns in Lamar County have already done this. It's interesting that we're the most significant town in the county, largest population, maybe the most roads, and we haven't yet done it. I would assume, you mentioned Stowe and Hyde Park not having any issues. I would assume the other 5 towns they're not feeling sorry that they've done this?
I haven't connected. I have really good contacts in Hyde Park and Stowe that we converse with regularly and trade information, have good relationships with them.
Yeah.
And I spoke with them, and
those would be the two obvious ones to talk to as well. I guess my question is, can we adopt this when it kind of flies in the face of what the town plan is saying? I for one, would very much like to adopt this. I just don't know what the consequences of having a town plan that says one thing that's been adopted and then adopting this bridge and roads.
I would say that we would adopt this, so moving forward, we have this in place, and then we would amend the town plan
ASAP.
to coordinate with this. I think that that would be my suggestion. The reason that we did a selection interview process for Public Works Director like Jordan was to bring these types of things to the table. And he's shown, ever since he's been here, since October, best practices, things that you can see and things that you can't see in terms of his management style and management of roads. And it would be a huge disappointment for me to think that we would delay this for any other reason.
Yeah, and Chris, I'm fine with that. I just wanted to bring that obvious obstruction.
Would that fit into your timeline as far as the fact that we can't amend the town plan as quickly Do you see that as a,
Were you saying that you would approve this tonight and then retroactively amend the town plan?
I think that's what we'd need to do, Laura, is we would, if we all feel it's the right thing to do, is adopt this tonight and then ASAP
right,
amend the town plan.
yeah, I just want to make sure that that will fit in to your timeline, understanding that we have this other issue or condition.
But I think if we approve it tonight, then you can move forward.
You can move
And I
You
can call the
mentioned
state
tomorrow.
first thing in the morning and say,
Okay.
Yeah.
we'd like to amend our applications.
You can,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, and then we'll just in the town plan.
George or Richard?
Yeah, Jordan, every time you come, you impress me with the quality of the presentation. Let me go back to the one you did on the roads, and the condition of the roads, and the timeline for getting them up to code, or up to standard. When you designed and thought about that, were these standards which you were working them to?
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about these standards are nothing new. It's the adoption of them and the writing of them that is new. The stone lining of the ditches and the slopes on the road, that's all already part of the municipal roads general permit, which is best practices that we all follow. This just reiterates the fact that we're gonna do
This doesn't
it.
change the estimates you had for cost over the years to get us back up to speed?
Nope.
Okay, great, thank you. This,
What it really
to me,
does
this is an important flow.
is provide revenue if something goes sideways. So you have, instead of 7.5% match, you have 12.5% match. You have other incentives within this document that benefits you and the other things that you need to accomplish.
Right.
I mean, you're already doing standards, as you said, but this codifies something that opens up the door for better revenue.
Absolutely.
Better revenue and better condition of the roads overall, right? That's what you said, a good enough fix we're doing, and not that you were doing that, but this is a standard that we will adhere to.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other huge part of it that we can't quantify is if we have another FEMA event, which are more and more likely, that we're not gonna just put it back the way it was. We're gonna put it back to a standard that's gonna be more resilient moving forward.
And in theory, if we go forward, when we go forward and do any road improvements to this standard, they will be inherently more resistant to
Absolutely.
any event, flood or runoff or whatever.
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Do you have anything you want to add to it?
Just that I fully support it. I wasn't sure when I came on board why we weren't already at that standard, and I was told a couple of different things. Jordan came to me, I asked him to do some due diligence to confirm, like, we wouldn't need it to immediately be up to the standard. We could do it as work is done. And I think the select board, there might be a paragraph in our town plan that this is in contradiction to, but that paragraph is outdated and quite possibly was based upon interpretations. And so the select board's fiduciary responsibility to the town to be more fiscally appropriate and to also bring our roads up to a standard that fulfills a state standard and makes our roads more durable is the right thing to do for the select board, so.
Yeah, that's really the crux of the matter right there. Yeah, thank you. So do I have a motion?
I actually have two motions, I guess. I would move to adopt and sign the most current Vermont Agency of Transportation V-Trans Town Road and Bridge Standards, specifically the version dated June 5, 2019, as the minimum codes and standards for all town highway projects and grant programs, ensuring compliance with all applicable state and federal statutes, standards, specifications, and guidelines.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Chris and a second by Richard. Any comments, any discussion from the board? I do have one person in the audience. Go ahead. Microphone's over here.
James Brewster, again. Just a procedural question. We're talking about amending the town plan. What does that look like? I mean, previously it was a planning council, which really, anything only really had to go through the ZA at that point. That town plan was written by that and authored by that individual. Now we have a planning commission, so I'm assuming we got to go back to the planning commission to make sure that they're cool and copacetic with it. Then you guys have to be cool and copacetic with it. And like I mentioned before, you got to go to the trustees to see if they're cool and copacetic with it. And then it's got to go, I don't know, to the public, something like that? Do I have that right?
I think you probably do. If nothing else, Jamie, you're asking the obvious question that we need to go back and think about this new process. There would be public hearings, probably 2 of them, but it probably has to, I'm not going to say, because I'm not sure.
Because
but
previously, the town plan authored by the previous town administrator, or town zoning administrator. Now that document really belongs to the planning commission.
I think it's safe to say that most, if not all, of what you just said is probably
So we're looking
true.
at, I'm all for it. I think it's great. I
Thank
think
you.
the decision why that's in the town plan was because we like and have liked to think that, we're littlest poorest town island and we know better. Well,
Yeah.
we don't always. So sounds like it's going to be a while before we get there.
Yeah, that was my questioning, was just making sure that we aren't,
well, just, yeah,
get
mine
caught
too.
up and, because we got to go to LCDC too for,
LCPC.
yeah, thank you. I always get
Not
the
for our municipal plan. We don't need to go through them for this. That's the regional plan.
Okay, oh,
Yeah,
good.
so.
Thank you. Thank you for clearing that up.
Any other discussion? Go ahead.
Good choice, Jerry.
Evelyn Throne. I don't understand the process of how this is going to work, but I trust that you guys are going to work and do it the correct way. I just want to say a note of appreciation to Jordan. When I think of the roads in this town, even can it be the small roads that go up to somebody's house, or the main roads that go through here that the tourists or the people who come to the businesses see? It's really an important part of visually and safety and just how the whole town presents itself. And from what I've seen, it's been a breath of fresh air to have somebody who really is looking at it holistically. And in this case, maybe thinking outside the box a little of what we could change. So I appreciate it.
Not to belabor this and not to boost your ego too much, I've gotten two unsolicited thank yous from neighbors in just the last 24 hours about the condition of the roads. So.
Jerry Throne. I'll lay on that as well. You're doing a great job. Love it. I heard something that I'm not quite sure, maybe you can help clear it up for me, that the objection we had previously was to the regional plan. That was the part about speed limits through other towns. I thought that's also in the town plan, and that the town plan had to be changed. So am I confusing the 2 different plans?
We're kind of off topic here a little bit, but I'll just say that what we did was we revised our town plan. When our town plan was revised, when we amended it, then it could be adopted at the regional level. LCPC did not adopt our previous town plan because of that paragraph or because of that sentence. We then amended that sometime in the last 12 months, I forget exactly when. It went to LCPC and then they adopted us. So we're now part of, our plan is regionally accepted.
Okay, so
it
then
wasn't before.
Any changes that might be considered to be made to the town plan to conform with what we're all agreeing to, does not involve LCPC's approval?
Boy, I better be careful, but
Yeah, that
not
was
sure.
my question.
It might need to go there, but.
So I've already initiated conversations with LCPC, and though I have not gotten an official response back, that we are moving to the state standard and improving the roadways and, our waterways. This is, I can't speak for the LCPC, but this is an amendment that they will, I believe they will have no problem approving. If this was something we were trying to tell our neighbors, dictating to our neighbors something, they would have an issue, right? And that's what occurred the last time. With this, we're just meeting state standards, we're increasing the amount of funds that are coming into the county. So I can't speak for them, but I've already been in communications and made them aware of this, and I don't foresee any problems.
As Jordan cites it, most of these towns with members of LCPC have already done this, so.
Correct.
I can't see a conflict, but again, that's said without knowing, but the rest of the towns have done it fastly, so it should not be, if you've got to go there, it should not be a challenge to them.
And if there is a concern, it's going to come out as part of the process, which
I would
would be the
suggest
reason
that
for
we-
the process in the first place.
I would suggest that we get an item on the Planning Commission's agenda. The next meeting, I think, is the 20th, to take this up and see if we can get that done.
Okay, thanks, Jerry. Okay, I believe we have a motion and we have a second. And we have Kathy's iPad.
No, that's mine.
Oh, that's your hand. Okay, never mind Kathy's iPad, that was Judy. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous, Judy. Thank you. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you very much.
So,
We have a second?
we have a second piece
There's
here,
another
too.
motion.
Oh, we have a second motion.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so.
Thank you.
First one was the Town and Bridge Standards Agreement. This one is a certification of compliance for town, road, bridge standards, and network inventory. So I would move to sign the certification of compliance for town, road, and bridge standards and network inventory of Morristown's highway system.
Thank you, Chris. Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion by Chris and a second by Richard. Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous.
Is now a good time to get physical signatures on page 7, 6, and 7?
We'll have them to you in the morning. They're right here.
We need a formal copy.
Good job.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to number 5, what used to be 4. Overview of the May 3rd re-envision of Oxbow Park Forum by LCCD, Peter Danforth. We have a couple of people in the audience. Peter's here. I know Tom Stames is here as well and would like to speak to this. I'll just say that we had this meeting on Saturday. Richard and I attended. There's other people in the audience that were there as well, and there was probably, besides the people that were panelists and LCCD employees, there was probably 30 community
Yeah,
members.
30 plus people.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, no. A few months back, we were considering, Lamoille County Conservation District, considering having a community forum of some sort in regards to community resiliency, like Jordan, you brought up, and with these FEMA events. And first we had some big ideas about having it as a county-wide sort of approach, but then we saw that the Oxbow was a really kind of hot topic with people and thought this would be a good place to start a topic about rethinking maybe what we should be doing in areas that are flood prone. And so through this, we came up with a survey with some pointed questions. I did send you and I think Don and Brent the survey results. Were you able to open them and? Okay, you probably haven't had time. But anyways, we just did it on Saturday, so there's no actionable items here. I'm not asking for anything other than, to say we had a really good time. We had a lot of support. We had a lot of great panelists that provide a lot of good information to people that they normally wouldn't have gotten, which is something I really wanted to do, is get, because there's a lot of questions like, what are they going to do down there? What's happening? Does anyone care? And in fact, between Lamoille County Planning Commission and their work with the engineers, between the River Conservancy that was there, between Stacy Pomeroy, the river scientist, and of course ourselves, we have all looked at the Lamoille County floodplains and are interested and very concerned and hoping that we can work together with all the towns to come up with correct solutions moving forward. As you know, Johnson has a Re-Envision Johnson program. I know that Jeffersonville has done a lot of work already to sort of work with their floodplains and open them up. So Morrisville, you're in the same situation, and I want to see more of these public forums occur so we can all talk as a community. So over the next week, we'll be looking at the different sort of topic areas that happened during the meeting. So there was a lot of talk about development or lack thereof, maybe reforestation or revegetation of the lower deck. There was talk of what we could do in those situations. Could there be programs for the schools or for the public that could be educational, that could use the park still, but in a way that would require like maybe some curriculums or education or signage and trails and whatnot. So those questions came up. All this was information gathering, so there was no decisions made. We're hoping that decisions can be made in the next few years regarding the development of the park. But there was also discussion with, Dan was there discussing the community gardens. Don and Tom and Jim Pease, who just left, made a great presentation about the history of the park. So it was a really interesting day, and I wish more people had been there. We got up to 30. I was hoping for more like 60, but maybe next time when we have this meeting again, and it has some more like decisive actions involved with it, then there'll probably be more people interested in coming. I'm sorry, just kind of, it was a big day. We haven't had really much time to mine the information, but once we do, my two staff that was there, Sarah Skelding and John O'Keefe, will be involved in sort of making a notes and minutes for the day, sending it out to all the people who were there, along with the survey results. And we're going to sort of cipher through the survey results, because some of them are handwritten as well, and try to get some patterns, some thoughts about what people are thinking about. And we'll release that to everyone that was there, and it will be on our website as well. So if anyone's interested in looking at what people did, we'll have it all up on the website, and we'll have our own page for that. That will take us about a week. But so that's what I'm saying. I don't have much to say tonight other than it was a great time, and thank you for everyone in the room that was there and provided the support to have this really important discussion.
Thanks, Peter.
Yeah.
Tom?
I'll take questions.
I have a-
Go ahead, Tom.
Questions for Peter?
Well, no, I have a comment, but I mean,
Yep.
first of all, I want to thank you for doing this. My concern, and, well, first of all, was you had it on Green Up Day, which
Yep.
is, just as an event producer, never good to compete with local events, and Saturdays are always hard anyway, but, I agree, I wish there had been more people, but I think it was a timing thing. But I also want to just say, as a town, and this, I've been asking to talk about this, but I think, and I appreciate what you guys are doing, but I think as a town, we've got to stop looking at just the Oxbow. And Jamie brought this up in Front Page Forum, that in my opinion, is we've got to stop duplicating services. If, the town, and I know this is gonna raise eyebrows, but, the taxpayers are paying for the school. They have a beautiful pavilion up there with plenty of parking. So as we're re-envisioning Oxbow, let's not duplicate efforts here. And Oxbow sits empty during winter, which, with snowmobiling and being off the rail trail, we've got to think bigger, I think. And, we have the golf course, and with Copley Foundation, the Copley Foundation clearly says public. I don't see anywhere that it says just golf. So I think as a town, we've got to stop being so territorial and open up to thoughts for the town, because I think, again, that's sitting empty all winter, and they just got a huge fund from Copley for a new deck, and yet here we are putting an ice rink in a parking lot with a trailer. And that venue up there is great. I mean, to sit up there and have a hot chocolate and ice skate or do whatever. So I'm just putting it out there. And I'm not sure how we integrate so that you guys are not solo
No, this is great. These are great questions, actually.
Yeah.
And something you brought up and I forgot about is the fact that there were panelists there who did speak about more of a geographic watershed zone level discussion, So when we do release the minutes, we'll also release all the presentations that were done. And these presentations had to do with basically the entirety of the Lamoille River and the towns within them, and that whatever we're doing with these sorts of resilience meetings, we could call them, could be duplicated and used for other areas that you're referring to. In other words, we're working with our partners that we know of within the area. We want to grow those partners, and we don't want to reinvent the wheel when it comes to these community resilience forums. I think they're really important, and we need more input and feedback, such as yours, Laura, to let us know where we're lacking and where we should go with it. And
We're all working together.
yes, exactly.
I do have a question for you, because there's a kayak launch down there. I used to work for Umiak Outfitters, and we used to run water tours. Is there any kind of criteria that we can't launch boats up at Hardwick and pull them out at Oxbow?
Well, it's a little out of my purview. But
Is there any,
I know that,
what's your question? Is there any?
Well, I'm just, because of the whole waterway, system, is there any reason why we aren't allowed to use that stretch of water between Hardwick and?
No. In fact, there's the Lamoille River Paddlers Association.
yeah, they use it all the time.
That uses, it's ironic, Hardwick and Wolcott and Johnson and Jeffersonville are much more involved in that than we are as a town. So we're kind of like the missing link in that.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, is it's never mentioned, so I thought perhaps.
There you go.
Okay, so, it's not something we'll talk about, but.
That was part of the conversation the other day, though, was the fact that there's projects that are occurring on the Wild Branch, and the slides that were shown showed the piece from Hardwick all the way down to Cambridge, and that I think everyone that was there noticed that we need to work collaboratively to try to mitigate this flood damage so that throughout the whole watershed.
Yeah, I mean, the SLR engineering was there to give what they're going to be doing, looking at the new flood mapping that's been provided. Actually, Lamoille River's gotten high ranking as far as funding goes towards mapping of the flood-prone areas, and USGS maps are all being updated as of June as well, and we're the first ones, like in the Northeast, like we're getting highly ranked here because of what happened. So that's good, and I want to, in any of these forums, bring that information to the people, and so they know that it's happening and how they can get involved.
Great, thank you so much.
Tom, I know you want to get into this, in this discussion as well.
Quick things. First, I'm Tom Stames from Morrisville. First of all, it was a great meeting. Don had some great historical pictures. I just had a couple pictures to show here. So this is after the flood, a couple years ago. Again, we've had 2 100-year floods in the past few years, but this is where the whole parking lot washed into the upper part of the upper deck of the Oxbow. And then the next picture,
Wow.
if we can figure out how to do that.
I'm gonna figure out how to get there.
All right. Maybe a right arrow.
There's not a right arrow.
We're closing.
There we go.
Okay, and there's today. So that area had been under, that whole parking lot got pushed over and was under 2 feet of gravel in there. And the town, and with some FEMA funds, I understand, pushed the gravel back into the parking lot where it belongs. We as a soccer club reseeded that area. It's come up great. If you go to the next picture, that's looking back up to the band shell where you see that it had like 1 foot to 2 feet of gravel, that whole parking lot. And then the next picture, and there's today. So I guess my point is, and then one more, and we go to the next one, and I'll talk while this is going on. This is before, that it was a wreck, but it's a floodplain, and it floods over, and that lower part has always flooded over, but hasn't gotten the gravel in there. The gravel was only due from these 200-year floods. And then the next picture there is, again, this week, it's all back to normal. Now, the lower part has been smoothed out with the, Percy's smoothed it out. They didn't sweep it maybe as much as I'd like or whatever, but that lower part is smooth, and we'll see if grass grows. But I would like to see it be more green space for, the soccer club puts up those goals for kids to use throughout the summer. We only use it for a month or a month and a half in the spring for games and stuff, but like we put the porta potties down there because the bathrooms aren't open or whatever, and we have volunteers who in the past 25 years since I've been involved have always cleaned up afterwards, and it hasn't been a big deal. So I would hope to see grass grow again down there. We'll see if that happens. We're not, I'm not trying to disrupt. I learned more about hydrology than I've ever learned the other day with the depths of the river and stuff. We're not trying to build a dam, put up stone to line the banks or whatever. I've said before that all the rocks and stones that are on that oxbow didn't come out of the Lamoille. It all came from being washed on where a gravel path had been put in years ago. And my thought is that if grass grows, water will flow across, we'll have some logs to take off. I don't see it being a big deal. So that's all I got to say about it.
Thank you, Tom.
Yep.
Just to make a point about revegetation, so the small area that we did plant 0.7 acres of trees, there was basically 95% survival rate on those trees so far. They will get flooded, but their trees are intended to be in flood zones, and so they'll be bent over, they'll come back, maybe not full maturity, eventually a full stand will die off, and it will provide those who are the strongest to arise from that wreckage. But just wanted to make a last minute note on being able to grow stuff down there won't be a problem.
I have a question for you, because the map I saw from FEMA has that the lower deck is floodway and the upper is floodplain.
Right.
And if you pull up on, I actually have it, if you pull up on FEMA site, the floodway is very specific about what can grow and limitations on it, which is what I was referencing from before. I just didn't know what
So that law, the FEMA guidance came out of 2011 Hurricane Irene, and then in 2017 or so, or 16, the state had guidance that kind of overruled that in regards to floodways and floodplains, and that if you have a public park or a public area that within a riparian area that it's recommended very highly that you plant it with trees or revegetate it in order to create volume control and sediment control of floodwaters, and that the FEMA was specifically looking at fill. It's been talked about before, development that could be washed down and create issues downstream, but they were not in their mind thinking about basically 3 to 4 foot barewood stem tree stalks in that situation.
So you're saying state statutes overruled
It does.
FEMA?
Yes, I went through this whole process. I talked to everyone in the state, and I was like, they're like, no, they don't. That whole floodway thing that was brought up back in 2011 is now.
Well, that's where the confusion is coming, is when we're being told it's a floodway, and I pull it up and.
Well, I think there's some people who still think about that ruling as being legitimate, and it's. You can talk to people at FEMA, and they'll tell you they want you to plant trees and restore.
No, that's good to know. I mean, there's controversy there.
But it's unfortunate, and another thing we tried to do is bring in those engineers to talk about that. So we will have their presentations provided too, so you can see that for yourself.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Yep.
I think as we can all see, there's plenty more discussion that's going to need to take place in regards to the Oxbow and where we're going to move forward. And Laura, you're right. I mean, there's some uses down there. Morrisville soccer certainly used it a lot. My kids played down there, and the band shell is one of the most populated events in this town in the summertime on Wednesday nights, and so it's an important piece of property. We own it. It is ours. I did research the deed thanks to the town clerk's office. Or I should say, the town clerk researched, I just picked up the papers. I didn't do anything, I didn't go do squat.
The town clerk delegated it.
Yes. So thank you for that, Sarah. So I'm going to move on, but thank you, Peter, thank you, Tom. So, thank you very much. Okay. Update on the proposed Morristown Charter. So we had our first charter passed by the voters last August, if I remember correctly. It did go to the legislature. It went to the House Government Ops Committee. I know Sarah and Chris were there to help provide testimony to get it out of the House side of the legislature. It moved over to the Senate, went to the Senate Government Ops Committee. Sarah and Don were ready to give testimony. We didn't need to get and we didn't need to provide it because it slid right through. And we found out today from Dave Iacovone, our local legislative representative, that the governor has signed our charter. So Morristown now has a charter. Yes.
So I just want to say, the next question is, how do we go forward? Because as you know, it was recommended that we did a very basic skeletal version to get it passed, which we did. Now comes where we can add stuff that's really specific to our town. But we don't know where the committee is, so hopefully that will be on an agenda, at some point, to talk about how do we move forward. Because we would have to have any kind of amendments that we wanted to add to the charter in place by January, so we don't have that much time. So
Yeah, if we want the next legislature to consider this, we have very little time.
Well, we've got to get the voters to, it's a process, so we shouldn't sit on it, because I know personally I have a couple of things, but it's a start. It's a really good start. Thank you.
Something else for future conversation.
Yep.
Any other thoughts on the charter? No. Okay, moving on. Old business, that's it for new business, correct? Not leaving anything out. Old business, nothing? Approve the warrants. Do I have a motion to approve the warrants, please?
I would make a motion to approve the warrants.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion by Chris, a second by Richard. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the warrants, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Upcoming schedule, we have the next select board meeting, the next two select board meetings will be held May 19th at 5:30 and June 2nd at 5:30. Other business? No. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Chris and a second by Richard. Any discussion? All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody. That was unanimous in the end there, Judy.
The board needs to sign warrants and the board needs to sign
That was 6:59, we adjourned.